Greetings. Welcome back to Town Square Video. This is part 3 of our 3-part series with pro-life advocates Jennifer Ruggiero of the Metuchen Diocese and Rachel Hendricks of the Trenton Diocese. In this video, Jen and Rachel discuss their efforts in cultivating young Catholics to help build future Respect Life leaders, and then discuss personal insights and stories that have helped motivate and impassion them to continue doing the important work they do. Thanks for watching.
One thing that we did, it wasn't for people in the pews, but we had our high schools. Last year, we had each of our high schools, our Catholic high schools, adopt a pregnancy center. And what we wanted them to do was, visit the center, find out what resources are available, fundraise for them, pray for them, do outreach, if they had a walkathon or if they had a banquet, to volunteer at those events, to really kind of have the high school kids come to know exactly what that center offers, so that if they or their peers or a friend or a neighbor or family member finds themselves in need, that these kids know firsthand the help that's out there. So that was a pretty effective effort. And I think that the kids took it very seriously, and the centers got to know the kids and the kids got to know the centers. And that has there's been fruit from that. We have a couple of young students that are entering into college now that have stayed with the centers and are very ambitious about planning prayer events and rallies and that kind of thing. So I think it's a good way to grab the young people as well.
I had an experience where I had two young gentlemen, high school students, that were helping me to carry some donations down to the Good Counsel home in Riverside. And I really wanted them to come along with me and use their muscles. We had like a big dresser that we were moving in and some other large equipment that had been donated. And I didn't know that we were going to be meeting some of the residents that were staying at the house there or their children, but we did. And it was a beautiful experience. And I'll tell you, the ride home with those two boys, who were at the time, I think 15 and 17, their jaws were hanging open out of, first, admiration for these women, which that was unexpected to me. I did not expect them to come out with this admiration, but they saw a strength and a determination in these women that was profound, and a realization that these women, for the most part, had been left by their male counterparts and or their nuclear families. They were left caring for this beautiful life, and we saw the babies. And I think that had a profound effect on them, that they need to be mindful of their own behaviors with the women in their lives and understand the vulnerabilities of a woman, even in this age of, second wave feminism, where women don't need you to hold the door. We don't need you to even have a baby. We don't need you to pray anything, right? I think I hope there was a clear understanding in their eyes that these girls and women were just like their sisters, their moms, their classmates, and their future spouses, perhaps. So, that personal interaction, I think it's a disservice to always bring donations for other people to a center. I think there's a great value to having as many people, and Jen, you mentioned having your youth go and tour and view the pregnancy resource centers. I think there's just tremendous value in that experience.
Yeah, I actually have somewhat of an unusual story. And I don't want to give anybody's confidentiality away, but just to kind of speak generally, years ago, we have a Project Rachel program in our diocese, which is for post-abortion healing. And it was really kind of manned by our Catholic Charities folks. And I was supporting it, trained and supporting it as best I could, mainly helping to spread the word about the services that are offered through that. Well, it was run by a certain person, but she actually left. And so they passed it along to another woman she was great. She was a clinical therapist. She also was bilingual. She was wonderful. And she called me up and she said, I really need to find out more about this, because they're going to put me in charge of the hotline. And so I told her all about the different things that were available. I actually told her about Rachel's Vineyard retreats and some of the other things that are offered locally, and didn't hear from her for about maybe 2 or 3 months. I come to find out that she was handed this job opportunity, actually, to man the phone, and she herself was post-abortive and knew nothing about the services available to her, knew nothing about the possibility of healing. But what she did was she went on one of Rachel's Vineyard retreats. And that's a weekend retreat. And I've been on it myself, so I know it's very cathartic. She said it changed her life. It changed her life. And she began to run our Rachel's Vineyard retreat in Spanish. We had one in Spanish for a number of years. And she was in charge of that, and she did a wonderful job. My lesson here was that you never know when you're talking to someone, what their past is, what their past experience is. And so here this woman was suffering from post-abortion aftermath, had all kinds of problems in her life, and she was asked to take over this position. No one screened her for anything. And so that has made me think all throughout the years in my work to always make sure to let people know that there's help out there if they need it. If they've experienced an abortion aftermath, that's uncomfortable, they're away from the church, they have broken relationships, they have substance abuse problems, they have suicide. I mean, you hear everything. This syndrome is real. Post-abortion healing is out there and needed, and it's one of our best kept secrets. So whenever I do any pro-life work, usually a conference or just dealing with groups, I'm always very conscious of the fact that there could be someone sitting next to you, even in the pews, that has had an abortion experience. And that goes for men as well. You just don't know. It's like 1 in 4, I think it's even more than 1 in 4 people have had an abortion experience. And I think 40% of all women by the age of 40 have had an abortion. I mean, the statistics are just outrageous. So this experience, like I said, she didn't know anything about it. And she was, kind of plunged into this position. Thankfully, she heard me and she went to this retreat. I didn't know she needed to. I just was giving her information, and she said it was life-changing, and she got very involved in the ministry. And so it was a life lesson for me in this work to always be conscious of who you're speaking with, and to always, like, if you're doing a pro-life talk or any kind of pro-life event, to make sure that you bring that up, because you don't know who's sitting in front of you.
I would say just with this whole Dobbs case and the Supreme Court decision that's kind of looming over us, in hopes that we'll see an overturn of Roe, and kind of reflecting on what that means for the state of New Jersey, where we see, abortion services actually being expanded even further, the desire of our leadership, our governor, to expand even further. I just feel grateful to our bishops who have clearly laid out a vision for our response over the coming days, weeks, and months, really to be one of charity and love, really seeking to focus on what we can do to serve and reach out to those in need and offer the mercy that the church offers through these experiences that women have had, either through abortion or just through these very difficult relationships that they must be even when they choose life. So what wisdom we have to follow with New Jersey bishops leading us to service and mercy, and really for a time pulling back, not leaving behind our responsibility for advocacy, but pulling back a little bit from that advocacy so that we can truly open our doors to compassion, the compassion and the service of the church. Really, the work of the church is converting hearts, not changing laws. Laws are important, and it's important for us to be active in our faithful citizenship. But right now, when things are so volatile, I just think that there's such wisdom in that leadership to guide us to service and mercy, and for a time pulling back from the divisive conversations about politics and policy.
I just feel like I've been so blessed over, especially over like the last 10 or so years. I was blessed to be, I journeyed with my mom in her final days after a 5-year struggle with cancer. And that was very difficult for me. It was my first experience with someone that was terminally ill. And as Jim can attest, I've worked for, 10 plus years on the assisted suicide legislation opposing that in New Jersey. So I became very well informed about all the end of life issues and the bioethics concerns and, end of life advanced directives and all of that stuff. And I think that prepared me for the walk and journey with my mom. And also since then, I've had to journey with my dad, and now my in-laws are living with us. So it's almost been a calling for me to journey with those in my life that are at life's end.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I've been blessed with 5 grandchildren in the last 5-6 years. And I was so honored to be in the room when my first grandchild James was born, and I was in the room again when my first granddaughter was born. And I tell you, I was speechless. I've been doing pro-life work for so long, but I've actually seeing new life come into the world, and actually seeing the first breaths of my grandchildren and the last breaths of my parents in the same time frame. It's life's, the circle of life. And I've been privileged and honored to be in this work. And I think it really helped me to appreciate and avail myself to my dying relatives, and also to my new grandchildren, and really be appreciative of every stage.
We hope you enjoyed getting to know Jen and Rachel better and the work they do. To learn more about the many life-affirming resources offered through the Catholic Church, please visit the Help for Moms section of the New Jersey Catholic Conference website at njcatholic.org. And be sure to stay tuned for additional Town Square videos. Thanks again.